it goes from when you breed the sheep. We've got some pregnant ewes this spring, and you're monitoring them, you're giving them their prenatal vitamins, you're watching to make sure they get enough exercise at different times in gestation, they're giving them different things, and then once the baby is born, you're monitoring her or him, and it just goes on and on. It's a constant flow of intention that goes from the breeding of that sheep right down to the end of the sweater when you've got it knitted. And that's one reason we sell these sweaters only through commission, because we've maintained that continuum, and we want that energy to go right into the recipient, or the experience that the recipient has with that sweater. So we don't knit up a pile of sweaters and put them on a shelf, although there are people who do that. Instead, we invite people to have a commission, and then we will knit for that person a sweater, and that maintains the flow into the finished product. So the design came from our experience out in the cold, that you always have to have a hood. 365 days a year you have to have a hood with whatever you're wearing. If it's the bugs in the spring, then you have to have a hood, and on and on. So you always want to have the option of a hood. So it had to be hooded, should be lengthy, so that it's covering most of the important parts of you, and that started evolving. To go in that box with it, in the chest with it, mothbalm, we call it mothbalm. That's the only time we use the M word, is our mothbalm. And those are, it's kind of like a potpourri. It's a combination of 7 ingredients, and we raise 6 of them at the farm. And lavender, mugwort, and tansy were 3, I guess you'd call them herbs, that were traditionally used forever to protect newly shorn fleeces. And I added some things. I love costumary. I love the smell of it and the look of it to me. So I added that. And then another kind of artemisia. And then some rue. And we also add neem, which is raised in India and is very powerful against infestations. So that's put together, and then we put that in little sachets, and the sachets go into a tiny little pillow sham, and I embroider a monarch butterfly on the top pillow sham, because a monarch butterfly is one of our kind of a logo because of our theme of king and queen royalty at Sundborn. And all of that goes in to an ensemble. So the sweater is just part of the ensemble. So we're not selling just a sweater, because the sweater is too vulnerable and too precious to be just sent out. It's got to have the combo. And that's the idea behind that. The boys loved a volume that our friends from England had given us, the Oxford Book of Children's Verse and one thing and another. And in there is, it's very old, "Lavender's blue, rosemary's green, when you are king, I shall be queen." So I thought, oh, perfect. So what I did was take each little stanza, I guess, and I drew pictures of the king and the queen, and that became, and I think there were six verses right through from that first one, first stanza to the last, and the last one says, "Let the birds sing and the lambs play, we shall be safe out of harm's way." And that also resonated really with Larson, that Sundborn was a center of safety and security, emotional safety and security. It was a haven. Sundborn is really the place, the town in Sweden where this farm was. And Sundborn means, translated, sunny side. So we laughed and said, well, we're at Sundborn. And we even got a sign that said Sundborn, had our name under it, stuck it up outside the house. And we were always on the sunny side, no matter what was going on. And that was kind of with Larson, too. He had a lot of challenges in his life. So when we got to thinking about putting together a company, we called it Sundborn. And also, one thing Larson did, he made his own gifts because they were special. You couldn't get the perfect gift unless you did it yourself. You made exactly the right thing. Well, when we thought about Sundborn and thought about a company, one thing in particular that we were thinking about is sharing that same concept, that we can make things, do things, creative things to share with other people, not just the family and friends, but we can produce things that become gifts. The production of the sweater, as I say, starts with the breeding of the sheep and stays in-house. That yarn at any stage, whether it's embryonic or a finished product, is produced entirely on the farm. It always is in our purview. Since our yarn was unique and pristine and unadulterated and so forth and so on, we thought it needed a name, almost like a brand. And although you don't hear of it too much now, green cotton had been very prominent back in the 80s, 90s, I guess. And one day I was walking back from the barn and I thought, green cotton, well, our wool should be green wool, because green now again is getting a renaissance of what green means. We're always thinking of the concept behind green wool, that it's pristine, it's energy intensive, loving intensive.